Hey y'all, welcome back to Convos with Bree. Today is day 17. And today I really want to talk about trusting the process. I see it a lot, I hear it a lot. People that just say, oh, this is where you have to lean in and trust the process. And something that happened to me when I first started trying to trust the process was every time I would trust the process, I would immediately be tested with something difficult. And at the time, I took that as life trying to tell me that I couldn't trust the process, that nothing was ever going to be what I thought it was going to be. Nothing was ever going to come easy. Um, And so I started looking at trusting the process as a place to brace because the minute I said, okay, I'm going to trust the process, that was the minute that life was like, let's see if you really do. And turns out I didn't. I did not at all because what I did trust was that something bad was going to happen or that I would be tested per se or that life was going to continue to show me why I couldn't trust the process and why I needed to stay braced against life. And I was really trying because y'all, I didn't want to be at war at life. I really, really did not. I never wanted to be at war with life. But life kept putting people in my path that I loved and enjoyed. And I thought that I was safe with them the way that they were safe with me. And then life kept showing me time and time again how I wasn't safe with them and how they didn't embody the things that I embodied when it came to caring about other humans. And they were selfish and they were mean, they were rude. They had these it felt like they had so many sides to them. And I would see who they were with others. And sometimes I liked it and sometimes I didn't. I saw who they were with me, same thing. Most of the time it was great, but other times it caught me off guard because how could this person treat me like this? How could we be so far off track when there's so much love? And why is somebody so angry at me for something that I was never trying to do anything to hurt them? I didn't understand how things were getting to where they were. I didn't understand how the energy was so out of whack. And then life, it wasn't even just that. Then life would give me these people that I loved so much and I needed so much. They were so impactful and important to my everyday life. And then out of the blue, they were just gone. I could never see them again. And I didn't like how untethered that made me feel. I didn't like that I understood it could happen to anyone at any time. And then it was crazy because I had this understanding of, okay, the relationships in my life, it is up to me to teach them how to treat me. And sometimes I have to let them go through their own hard things so that they can meet me in the middle or they can understand it differently, see it differently, and change these things about what they do and change it for themselves because it wasn't just with me, it was all over their life. And I knew it would be doing them a huge favor if they could understand a bit more about what I was understanding in this situation. And I wanted them to embody that. I wanted them to have great relationships and better communication and being able to discuss things that were hard more naturally and without escalating all the drama. But then I tried to do that with someone who deeply, deeply needed me to give him a little bit of what I knew. And I tried to do it the only way that I knew how. And I knew he was going to be upset for a little bit. And I knew we were going to come back together and be better than ever. And I knew that one day he would thank me. He would understand. And this would all work out. And I trusted that with my entire cellular being. I felt that truth in my soul, y'all. And then right after we had this disconnect, he died. And I felt so betrayed by life for forcing me to do it this way. And if I would have known, I would have never. I would have just kept my mouth shut for a few days. I would have just let him be. But then, of course, I would have wondered if I would have said something, could it have changed? Oh, man, that hindsight. And hindsight is brutal sometimes. But I learned something very important when I had to deal with the consequences and deal with the finality of what had been and what went down, what transpired. And it ate me alive for a very long time. And I did not think I was going to be able to ever get over that. And then one time I had a dream. And there he was, and he wasn't regretting a thing. And he was peaceful, and he was happy. And it wasn't the moment that I pictured, because I thought we would both be here in this lifetime together. And I realized that what I was actually rebelling against was that it didn't happen the way I wanted it to. And that I was so closed off to any other way that it could happen. It didn't seem possible. It felt like the only way it would ever happen is if he was alive, and he wasn't alive. And there was no going back on that. So I couldn't see how there would ever be a resolution or any type of resolve internally for me, because what I needed, I could not have. And that sent me into such a spiral. It felt like life was telling me that there was an answer and that I had the answer. But the answer was gone. It was like if somebody said, "What is 2 plus 2?" The answer is 4. They said, "What do you need?" "I need him earthside." It was as concrete as 2 plus 2 is 4. I don't know any other right answers for that. I can't find any. I don't know anybody that knows it. And I'm just stuck in hell on earth. And that's where I was for years. And then I had that dream, and I started trying, I started trying to do life differently. And I just, sometimes the answer is right in front of us, but we truly cannot see it because our emotions are so hurt about what we wanted and what is not, that we can't see that there's all these other ways to get what we wanted. We just have to be more open-minded, a lot of things. There's always a solution I have found. And it typically lies in the areas that we're not even paying any attention to. We're not giving any energy, any of our thoughts. And if it does try to come up, we are so quick to wash it away, to discredit it, to blow it off, and to just get even more into our own resolve. And it's at the time, it's going to make perfect sense. And at the time, it is going to feel like you are 110% correct. And there is no other option. And I tell you this story today just to remind you that if you feel this way, to just hold on, to keep trying, to keep searching for things that are not what you were looking for, to keep looking for answers in places that feel like there are no answers, because there are. And it's so wild because now I know resistance is actually the key. The more resistance I have to something, the more there's something I need there. Resistance feels different than danger, than an outright knowing. I don't know if I've ever told this story, but one time I was at a gas station and I was going to grab something to eat because nightmare. I'm going to skip all that, but I couldn't eat all night, and then I needed to grab something to eat. And the gas station had one turkey sandwich. It was literally the only thing in the entire gas station I had any interest in. And I knew I was getting it. Marco knew I was getting it. And I went to reach for it and I froze. I could not move. I could not connect with the sandwich. I could not pick it up. And Marco came up to me and said, "You know you want that sandwich. What's happening?" And I told him that I didn't know, but we had to just stand here. And I said, "Just help me make this seem normal to our friend." And we were there for a few minutes, and then the spell broke, and I grabbed the sandwich, and I was like, "I don't know what happened, but we can go." And we were on our way to go bowling. And we walked in the bowling alley doors, and the doors were all shattered. There was glass everywhere. We were like, "What happened?" And because of the way we were coming, because we stopped at that gas station, a friend of ours that we walked into and saw let us know if we would have been even minutes earlier, we would most likely be dead, because there was a shooting that happened right where we would have been. Danger didn't let me move. Discomfort makes me feel all these emotions. I felt very calm when I was in danger. And I could not move. I could not do the thing I wanted to do. I knew exactly what was happening, that something dangerous was happening. I just didn't know what. I never feel that with discomfort. With discomfort, I feel uncomfortable. I feel angry or upset or nervous or anxious, or like I'm running 1,000 scenarios trying to figure out what this could be. Discomfort grows me. Danger grounds me. It doesn't let me move. It freezes me in a way that I can't ignore it. But discomfort is the key. And the more uncomfortable I get, the more I grow. So if right now you're uncomfortable, if right now everything feels wrong, this is where you trust the process. This is where you learn to start looking at it differently. And this is where everything changes. I'm going to leave it at that for today, y'all. Remember, nothing meant for you will miss you. Let's enjoy this beautiful day.